Every year, over 2,200,000,000 pounds of edible insects are produced worldwide. They are dried, ground, and added to cookies, snack bars, and even cheese filled with live larvae. The biggest farms are now being built across tens of thousands of acres, not just in Asia, but in Canada, Spain, and the United States too. Crickets, beetles, locusts, they are crashing into the future of food. Why? They are cheaper than meat, healthier than fish, and 100 times more eco-friendly than beef. In this video, we will show you what these farms look like, how insects are raised, and how they end up on our plates. Right now, several companies are competing for the title of the world's largest edible insect farm. Let me tell you a bit about each. In January of the year 2025, the company Tebrio began building a farm called O-Farm in Salamanca. When finished in the year 2028, it is expected to cover over 22,000 acres and produce more than 220 million pounds of insect-based products annually. In September of the year 2023, the company Cricket One launched Asia's largest cricket processing plant in Binh Phuoc province. The initial capacity is about 2,205,000 pounds per year, with plans to scale up to over 22 million pounds in 5 years. Hold on, let me take a sip of water while the insectophobia exits our chat. In London, Ontario, Aspire Food Group built a 150,000 square foot facility, considered the world's largest cricket processing plant. The title of largest edible insect farm changes constantly due to the rapid growth of this sector and new projects launching all the time. You might ask, why? Or maybe you are speechless already. But here's the thing. In more than 100 countries, insects have been part of the diet for centuries. For people in Thailand, Mexico, and parts of Africa, it is just normal food. In Thailand and Laos, the beetle Lithocarus indicus is used as a spice. Its internal extract tastes like green tea and mint. People squeeze it like a lemon. Just imagine. A little beetle on your salad, and you are good to go. In Sardinia, there is a cheese with live larvae. It is officially banned, but highly prized by locals. It is made from sheep's milk, and the larvae actively move and digest the cheese, giving it a soft texture and sharp flavor. People eat it with the larvae, alive. If the larvae are dead, the cheese is considered spoiled. In Cambodia, fried tarantulas are a popular delicacy. They are said to taste like a cross between crab and chicken. People break off the legs, remove the venomous fangs, and enjoy a crunchy lunch. In Japan, tiny beetles are used in fermenting traditional foods as natural preservatives. For example, in making soy sauce or fermented paste, a bug-based microflora is used to give the right smell and texture. In the European Union, yellow mealworm larvae flour is now legally approved for food. It is high in protein and nearly tasteless. So now there are breads, cookies, and pasta made from insect flour. In many countries, insects are not served as, hey, here is a fried grasshopper with legs, but are ground into flour and added to snacks or protein bars, looking just like regular food. Insects are rich in protein, iron, omega-3, and vitamins. Many are as nutritious as meat. For example, crickets contain 70% protein by weight. Insects reproduce quickly. For farmers, this is a win. One full cycle takes just weeks, not years. Unlike cows or pigs, insects need far less water, feed, and space. They also emit fewer greenhouse gases. Perfect for the planet. Officially and legally, the most commonly farmed insects are crickets, mealworms, and locusts. Farms usually specialize in one insect species for efficiency. This helps streamline operations and reduce management costs. Insects have different needs: temperature, humidity, and feed, so it is easier to focus on just one species per farm. However, some farms raise multiple insects, like combining crickets and mealworms, or create zones for each, if it makes economic sense. A cricket farm is a structured system where insects are raised specifically to produce protein used in food, feed, or even the cosmetics industry. Such a farm can be a small business or a large commercial facility, producing thousands of tons of protein each year. The first thing a cricket farm needs is a properly equipped space. This could be large containers or racks with boxes or trays for breeding and raising crickets. Temperature and humidity are critical. It should not exceed 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity should be between 50 and 70%. Crickets also need a light cycle, so artificial lighting is sometimes used to maintain optimal conditions. Choosing the starter insects is key. Special breeding cages are set up where adult crickets reproduce, and the eggs are transferred to other containers to develop. Crickets go through several life stages: egg, larva, nymph, and adult. This process takes 6 to 8 weeks. During their lives, crickets consume a lot of feed. Typically, this includes wheat bran, vegetables, fruits, and special mixed feeds, providing all necessary nutrients. They eat actively, so farmers must regularly replace food and check its quality to prevent disease outbreaks. Once crickets mature, they are harvested. Farms use special equipment to separate adult crickets from the substrate and sort them for further processing. Usually, crickets are either dried or frozen before being turned into powder. That powder is then used to make feed, energy bars, or even dietary supplements for humans. A critical part of the farming cycle is cleaning the breeding containers to prevent pests and disease. After harvesting, farmers clean all trays, change substrates, and sometimes add new insects to replenish the population. Proper waste management is also important, since leftover food and insect waste must be disposed of safely. After crickets are processed, they are either dried or turned into powder, depending on the product being made. If it is animal feed, the insects are simply dried and crushed. For food supplements, the process is more complex, involving special machines to retain all the nutrients. Technology on these farms is constantly improving, because this is a business built for an eco-friendly and sustainable future. A farm like this can be fully self-sufficient, using organic waste for feed, making it both economical and green. Mealworms are another popular insect raised for protein. They have great potential in the food industry, for both animal and human consumption. Mealworms belong to the beetle family, and are often farmed because they are easy to raise and high in protein. Mealworm farms usually have several rooms or trays where ideal conditions are created for reproduction and growth. The perfect temperature is between 170 and 186 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity must stay low to avoid mold or disease. They need dim lighting, so these farms often operate in low-light environments. The process starts with introducing the starter material, mealworm eggs, which are placed in containers with substrate for incubation. Eggs develop into larvae over several weeks. These larvae are protein-rich and used for animal feed or ground into food supplements. After 2 or 3 months, larvae transform into pupae, then into adult beetles. For healthy development, mealworms need moist, fiber-rich substrates like wheat bran, cornmeal, or even vegetables and fruits. They feed actively on the substrate, which also helps recycle organic waste. Farmers must regularly change the feed, check moisture levels, and inspect for parasites. Yes, you read that right. Mealworms can have their own parasites. I will never look at protein the same way again. Once the larvae are big enough, they are collected, by hand or with machines. After harvest, they are either frozen or dried. The dried mealworms become the base for pet food or protein-rich human food products. After harvesting, containers must be cleaned of leftover feed, insect waste, and dead bugs. Clean environments are crucial. Substrates should be regularly replaced to prevent harmful microbes. Locusts are another insect raised for protein, but they are much more demanding. Locusts are your high-maintenance girlfriend in the insect world. They need attention. Farms for locusts often include large greenhouses or special buildings that mimic natural habitats. The temperature must be around 85 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity should not drop below 50%. They also need plenty of space to reproduce and grow. Locusts reproduce by laying eggs, which are incubated in warm, moist conditions. Once hatched, the nymphs look like adult locusts, but without wings. They need time to grow into fully mature insects. Locusts are herbivores, so farms feed them grasses, leafy greens, and vegetables like cabbage or carrots. Proper nutrition is key to a healthy population and high protein content in the final product. Now the girlfriend comparison ends, because once locusts reach maturity, they are collected, separated from the substrate, and processed. Usually, they are frozen or dried. After drying, they can be turned into powder for animal feed, food additives, or even cosmetics. Like with other insects, locust farms must be cleaned regularly to prevent disease and maintain healthy conditions. The production models for mealworms and locusts are similar, even though their needs and diets differ. This allows farms to maintain consistency and ensure high-quality products. So, what will you choose? Potatoes, or some surprisingly healthy insects? Did you know there used to be a rodent the size of a large dog, living back in prehistoric times right alongside saber-toothed tigers? And today, it soaks in hot springs with tourists in Japan and can cost up to $5,000 each. That is the capybara. Its meat is officially recognized as fish for Catholics during Lent, and its skin is a favorite among luxury brands. So how did a meme animal turn into a farming business, a delicacy, and even a pet? Here is the full story of capybaras, from the wild to VIP farms and $1,000 wallets. Capybaras are not just internet stars. They are also raised on specialized farms. The largest number of these farms are found in South America, especially in Brazil, Venezuela, Argentina, and Colombia. Capybaras have been around for millions of years. Their ancestors were even bigger and possibly lived alongside giant sloths and saber-toothed tigers. The earliest capybaras appeared in South America around 30 million years ago. Back then, in the area of what is now Brazil and Argentina, there were giant rodents from the same family, like Joseph-Wartegacia monesi. That creature could grow to over 10 feet long and weigh more than 1,500 pounds. Experts believe it looked like a modern capybara, only it was the size of a cow. So how did capybaras adapt to life near water? They developed some incredible traits that helped them survive. Their webbed feet make it easy to swim and walk through swampy areas. Their eyes, nostrils, and ears sit high on their heads, just like hippos, so they can breathe and watch what is going on while staying mostly underwater. And they have a special thermoregulation system. Capybara skin helps them maintain an ideal temperature even in hot climates. Archaeologists have found capybara bones in ancient native settlements across South America. Tribes living along the Amazon hunted them for meat and hides. Some tribes even saw them as sacred animals because they could live between two worlds, both on land and in water. When Spanish conquistadors arrived in South America in the 16th century, they noticed right away that the locals ate capybaras. But that raised a question. Can you eat them during Lent? The Catholic Church banned eating meat from mammals during Lent, but fish was allowed, so Spanish missionaries asked the Vatican for a ruling. After long discussions, the priests decided that, since capybaras spend most of their time in the water, they could be considered fish. That is how capybara meat was officially approved for Lent, and the tradition still exists today in parts of Venezuela and Colombia. Even though capybaras are hunted for their meat and hides, they are not an endangered species. Today, they can be found not only in South America, but also in zoos, private reserves, and even as pets in many countries around the world. Capybaras are living proof that nature creates perfect survivors. From prehistoric times to internet memes, they are still one of the most unique rodents on the planet. Capybara farms look a lot like nature reserves, large areas with green meadows and man-made ponds, because capybaras absolutely love water. Commercial farms and nature-style reserves can cover 50 or even 100 acres or more. Trees provide shady spots where capybaras can relax. There are 3 main reasons to raise capybaras. First, for ecotourism. Some farms let visitors pet, feed, and even swim with them. Capybaras have charmed people for a long time with their calm personalities, and farms focused on ecotourism offer amazing ways to connect with them. Visitors can not only watch the animals, but also feed them, pet them, and swim right beside them. These farms usually have wide open spaces with water areas, grassy fields, and shaded zones. Since capybaras spend up to 80% of their time in the water, they are given large ponds about 3 to 5 feet deep, perfect for swimming with tourists. Most farms offer feeding sessions where visitors can buy special snack kits that include fresh greens, vegetables, and fruits. The average cost for one portion ranges from $3 to $5. Feeding helps capybaras get used to people quickly, and they often come right up to the guests. One of the most popular activities is swimming together. The water must be comfortable for the animals, around 80 degrees Fahrenheit. For safety, some farms only allow swimming with young capybaras under 2 years old, or with adult ones that are already used to human contact. In the United States, Brazil, and Japan, the cost of visiting a capybara farm ranges from $10 to $50 per session, depending on the length of the visit and activities offered. Some farms even offer VIP tours for $100 or $200, which include private photo shoots and special treat packages. These places are getting more and more popular, especially thanks to viral capybara videos on social media. In Japan, for example, some farms even build hot springs, where tourists come just to watch capybaras enjoying warm water in the winter. The second reason capybaras are raised on farms is to sell them as pets. Demand for capybaras as household pets is growing, especially in the United States and Japan. People love them for their chill vibe, high social skills, and cute appearance. They get along well with people and other animals, especially if they are raised together. In the United States, the average price of a capybara from a specialized farm or breeder ranges from $1,000 to $5,000 per animal. However, the price depends heavily on documentation, health, and the age of the animal. On top of the purchase cost, owners must also budget for a large enclosure and pool, special food, and vet care. Capybaras are not apartment-friendly pets. They need plenty of space and access to water. Plus, they are social animals and do not do well alone. That is why experts recommend keeping at least 2. Is it even legal? You might be asking. Well, it depends on the state. In Texas and Pennsylvania, it is totally legal with no restrictions. In New York and Florida, you need a license to keep one. In California and Georgia, capybaras are strictly banned. In Japan, capybaras are super popular because of anime and social media. But owning them comes with even stricter rules. Capybaras form close bonds with their humans, love cuddles, and can even learn to respond to their names. But they are not like dogs. You cannot train them easily, and if they get bored, they might chew on furniture or walls. In South America, especially Venezuela, Colombia, Brazil, and Argentina, capybaras have traditionally been raised for meat and leather. Their meat is considered a delicacy, and their hides are used to make premium products. Despite local traditions, many international environmental groups are against large-scale farming of capybaras. Some countries have already banned or limited the sale of their meat to protect wild populations. In Peru and Bolivia, hunting capybaras commercially is illegal. In Europe and the United States, importing their meat or hides is tightly regulated. Still, capybaras are raised for meat and leather, so let us take a closer look at how that works. Capybara meat is often described as tasting somewhere between pork and rabbit. It is rich in protein and low in fat, making it popular among fans of healthy eating. The price of capybara meat depends on the country and region. In Venezuela, the average cost of 1 pound of meat ranges from $5 to $10, while in Brazil, it can go up to $20 due to limited supply. Capybara leather is soft, flexible, and incredibly durable. It is used to make high-end accessories like belts, wallets, handbags, and boots. Since it is a rare material, luxury brands really value it. For example, a belt made from capybara leather might cost $200 or even $500, and a handbag could go for more than $1,000. On these farms, capybaras grow up in semi-wild conditions. When they are raised for meat, young males aged between 12 and 18 months are selected. At that age, they usually weigh about 140 pounds. They are then captured and taken to specialized slaughterhouses. In Venezuela and Brazil, there are strict humane slaughter laws. animals must be killed quickly and painlessly, usually by electric shock or firearm. Afterward, the carcass is processed, the hide is removed, and the meat goes through veterinary inspection. The hides are cleaned, dried, and sent to leather factories where they are tanned and turned into materials for belts, wallets, and more. Capybara breeding on farms happens under controlled conditions, but mimics nature as much as possible. Since capybaras are social animals, they live in groups with one male for several females. Females are ready to reproduce by the age of 10 or 12 months. Males take a bit longer, around 15 to 18 months. Mating happens in water. Males compete for females, making signature sounds and chasing them around. A capybara pregnancy lasts about 5 months. Usually, 3 to 5 babies are born at a time, but sometimes there can be as many as 8. The mother feeds her babies milk for the first 4 months, but by the end of the first week, they are already nibbling on solid food, grass, veggies, and grains. Farmers closely monitor the process, choosing the healthiest animals for reproduction. To avoid inbreeding, they regularly switch out males between groups or buy new ones. Under good conditions, a capybara population can double in just 1 year. That is because one female can give birth to 15 or even 20 babies over her lifetime, so farms can quickly grow their numbers if there is demand. Capybaras live about 10 years in the wild, but on farms or in captivity, they can live up to 14 years, thanks to better food, medical care, and no predators. In the wild, capybaras are often hunted by jaguars, anacondas, caimans, and humans, which greatly shortens their lifespan. Every year in Australia, one farm raises 30,000 crocodiles, producing up to 500 tons of exotic meat and skin that can cost as much as $200 per inch. This is Australia's Northern Territory Crocodile Farm, the biggest crocodile hub in the world, where ancient crocodile hunting traditions have turned into a million-dollar business. From the tropics of Africa to restaurants in Thailand, people have prized their lean meat and tough skin for centuries. Today, farms are saving species from extinction, while luxury brands craft bags out of them. In this video, we'll dive into how crocodiles became a gold mine and why their tail is a delicacy you've got to try. Stick around till the end. It's going to be a wild ride. In the tropical regions of Africa, Australia, and Southeast Asia, people have long hunted crocodiles as part of their traditional ways of life. Here, crocodiles were eaten as food, and their skin was used to make all sorts of items. Since crocodiles live in places where other meat sources can be tough to come by, their meat became a handy and nutritious option. Crocodile meat was a hit in local cultures across Southeast Asia and Africa because it's low in fat and packed with protein. In particular, crocodile started showing up in restaurants as an exotic dish, especially in countries like Thailand, Vietnam, Australia, and even some Caribbean spots. Crocodile skin has always been super valuable, thanks to its incredible durability and ability to hold up in harsh conditions. It was used for shoes, bags, clothes, and even fancy luxury goods. By the second half of the 20th century, interest in crocodile skin shot up, which sparked a massive hunting boom. So, crocodiles were first killed for their meat potential, but over time, their skin became the real prize. The tradition of hunting and eating crocodile meat shifted from a survival thing to part of food culture and big business. Demand and supply. Those words fueled a huge wipeout of crocodiles, threatening some species with extinction. To meet the demand and protect populations, folks started raising crocodiles on farms. Setting up farms cut down on hunting costs and guaranteed a steady supply of skin and meat. Farmers turned crocodiles into a cash cow since their meat's in demand on the exotic delicacy market. Plus, crocodile meat's seen as a healthy, lean choice with low fat and high protein. Farmers took on the job of breeding and caring for them. This not only saved species, but also helped create tougher, hardier populations. Now, raising crocodiles might not sound like a walk in the park, but these farms have turned into serious moneymakers. Part of the reason? Crocodiles don't need a ton of upkeep and can thrive in pretty specific conditions, surviving and breeding on farms at relatively low cost. Over time, crocodile meat became a go-to delicacy in restaurants and cafes serving exotic eats. The world's biggest crocodile farm is down in Australia. It's called Australia's Northern Territory Crocodile Farm, one of the largest and most famous spots for raising crocodiles. They breed them for commercial use. Think skin, meat, and even tourist attractions. Beyond that, big crocodile farms also pop up in places like Thailand and India. Australia's Northern Territory Crocodile Farm sits on a massive chunk of land, over 2,000 acres, giving them space to house a ton of crocodiles. What do we mean by a ton? They raise about 30,000 crocodiles, mostly the Crocodilus porosa species, one of the biggest and most common types in Australia. The main goal? Harvesting skin for high-end accessories. Crocodile skin from this farm goes into products for luxury brands. Bags, wallets, belts, you name it. It's pricey stuff because of its strength and exclusivity. The price per square inch can range from $50 to $200, depending on the quality. One big piece of the farm is its tourist angle. Visitors can take a tour, checking out the breeding, feeding, and care process for crocodiles. They also run demos where tourists watch how crocodiles react to food and see feeding time up close. Australia's Northern Territory Crocodile Farm is a standout part of Australia's tourism scene, drawing thousands of visitors every year. Crocodiles on the farm can live up to 80 years, though only the ones kept for species preservation make it that long. The farm's one of Australia's top producers of crocodile meat, churning out up to 500 tons a year. These crocs can grow up to 23 feet long, making them some of the biggest reptiles on the planet. The Australian Crocodile Farm has plans to expand its breeding and processing operations, plus boost tourism with new attractions and beefed up info programs for visitors. These investments keep the industry steady and make the farm even more popular with tourists and producers. The farm starts by setting up conditions as close to nature as possible. Crocodiles live in big ponds or man-made pools, split up by age and size. Females lay eggs in nests they build from plant material and dirt. One clutch can hold 40 to 60 eggs, and in the wild, females guard them fiercely. On farms, though, they collect the eggs and move them to incubators with controlled heat, around 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit, and humidity to max out hatchling survival. Usually, a female picks a spot near water where the temperature and moisture are just right for her eggs to develop. Then she digs a hole or piles up plant material, dirt, mud, and sand. Once the eggs are laid, she covers them up and sticks around, guarding the nest from predators. She'll get aggressive if anything threatens it. But on farms, they take the eggs, and after 60 to 90 days, baby crocodiles hatch. At this stage, they're super vulnerable, so they're kept in special tanks with warm water, about 85 degrees Fahrenheit, until they grow stronger. Once the young crocodiles get bigger and more independent, they're moved to roomier ponds, or enclosed pens where they can keep growing. In their first few months, they're fed small fish, insects, bits of meat, and other protein-rich foods. The diet's got to be balanced to speed up growth and strengthen bones. Later on, they add bigger chunks of meat, chicken, beef, and fish. Some farms even use special feed mixes packed with vitamins and minerals. When crocodiles hit a certain size, usually around 6 feet, they might get sorted into groups based on what they're destined for: breeding, skin, or meat. The young crocodiles, the biggest and healthiest ones, are kept in special ponds that mimic their natural habitat. The water's kept at a cozy temperature, around 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and they've got shelters to cut down on stress. Crocodiles meant for breeding get top-notch feed, like fish, poultry, or beef, with added vitamins and minerals to boost growth and fertility. Females hit breeding age at about 10 or 12 years, males a bit later. At that point, they get more space to avoid fights. Then, adult males and females are paired up in special breeding pens where conditions are set for mating. Workers regularly check their health, genetics, and aggression levels to pick the best ones for breeding. Crocodiles raised for skin go through a different cycle than the breeding ones. They usually pick fast growers with smooth skin and low aggression. These guys are raised in special pools with controlled water temps, around 82 degrees Fahrenheit, to speed up growth. Space is tight in these pools to limit movement and prevent skin damage from scraps or scratches. They're fed high-protein grub, fish, chicken, beef, with vitamins and minerals to keep their skin in top shape. Feed amounts are controlled so they don't overeat, since extra weight can stretch or ruin the skin. The prime skin comes from young crocodiles, aged 2.5 to 3.5 years. At that age, the skin's elastic, free of rough scales or scars, perfect for premium goods. Workers use humane slaughter methods, like electric shocks or gas chambers, to avoid damaging the material. The skin's removed with a special technique to prevent tears. Next, it gets cleaned, tanned, and dyed. The processed skin heads to fashion houses and luxury brands making accessories, bags, belts, and shoes. The priciest part? The belly zone. It's smooth, soft, and free of bumpy growths. Top-tier brands like Hermès and Louis Vuitton snap up this raw material. For meat, they mostly use young crocodiles, aged 2 to 3 years. These ones are kept in roomier ponds than the skin group, since scratches aren't as big a deal. They manage the number of crocodiles per square foot to keep aggression in check. The diet's tweaked to pack on weight fast with minimal fat. The tail's the star, tender meat for steaks and fillets. The legs are a delicacy too, kind of like frog legs in texture. The back works great for grilling, skewers, or sausages. One carcass averages 10 to 20 pounds of pure meat. Tourists can visit the crocodile farm all year round. Australia's climate lets farms run full-time with no seasonal breaks, so visitors can see the breeding process and crocodiles at different growth stages anytime. That said, the best time to go is the dry season, from April to October, when touring's more comfortable. 100 million years of evolution, the largest bivalve mollusk on Earth, living more than 140 years, and $1 billion market. The Geoduck is the world's most expensive seafood delicacy, fetching up to $140 per pound in Hong Kong restaurants. But catching it isn't easy. It buries itself up to 3 feet deep and can outlive any fisherman. How are these unique giants farmed underwater? Why are Chinese millionaires willing to pay hundreds of dollars for a single clam? And what has turned the Geoduck into a true symbol of luxury and status? Let's dive in. Geoducks are giant marine clams found along the Pacific coast, primarily near the western shores of North America. They are the largest of all bivalve mollusks, living more than 100 years, making them among the longest living creatures on Earth. Naturally occurring along the Pacific shoreline, indigenous peoples traditionally consumed them. However, global culinary fame came thanks to the Asian market, especially in China, Japan, and South Korea. In China, geoducks are prized as a delicacy, a status symbol, and even an aphrodisiac, partly due to their distinctive appearance. High prices, up to $140 per pound in Hong Kong restaurants, and limited wild populations have led to the creation of farms for artificial cultivation. An average geoduck weighs between 1 and 3 pounds, though some specimens can exceed 5 pounds. Thus, a large clam could cost anywhere from $300 to $700 or even more, depending on its size. Despite their unusual appearance, remember, it's a long, fleshy siphon protruding from the shell, they have tender, slightly sweet meat with a distinct oceanic taste. Geoducks are eaten raw, fried, boiled, or added to soups. Interestingly, China has the highest demand, though geoducks aren't naturally found there. Consequently, China actively imports geoducks from the United States and Canada and develops its own farms along coastal regions. Geoduck clam farming, especially in specialized underground farms, is among the most secretive and luxurious agricultural practices worldwide. China, with its rich maritime traditions, not only farms clams in open water, but has also developed unique underground farm methods for growing the most valuable mollusks. These farms feature specially constructed geoducks, large underground spaces providing perfect conditions for clam growth. Let's take a closer look at how exactly the world's most expensive clams are farmed and why this method is so unique. These farms differ from ordinary aquaculture setups in that clams aren't simply grown in water, but in specially prepared cavities, replicating the natural underground aquatic environment. They ensure stable conditions, crucial for clam quality and rarity. Optimal conditions are maintained precisely: water temperature, oxygen levels, salinity, and other factors. The natural environment created within these geoducks significantly enhances clam meat quality. A geoduck farm is quite unusual, resembling an underwater garden more than a traditional fish farm. Clam farms are located in shallow coastal areas at depths from 10 to 30 feet, typically in calm bays or coves. At the ocean floor, you can see thousands of vertically placed tubes, around 4 to 6 inches in diameter and 12 to 18 inches long. They look like vast plantations of tubes sticking out of the sand. These tubes protect young geoducks. Without them, predators like crabs, sea stars, fish, and seagulls quickly consume the mollusks. Tubes are needed only during the first few years. Tiny geoduck larvae float in the water for several weeks before settling onto the seabed and burrowing into the sand. That's when farmers place them into tubes. The geoduck grows in the sand, not inside the tube itself. The tube merely protects it until it becomes large enough. After 2 or 3 years, the tubes are removed. By then, geoducks have burrowed deeply, up to 3 feet, making it challenging for predators to reach them. Nets are often stretched above the tubes to prevent attacks from birds and other predators. Buoys at the surface mark farm locations and provide diver and worker access. A farm can span several underwater acres, with only small maintenance structures visible from shore. On land, there are specialized tanks for sorting and cleaning clams before sale. Thanks to natural underground caves and artificially created tanks, geoduck farms significantly enhance clam growing conditions. A key factor distinguishing these farms is temperature and humidity stability. Constant monitoring of these parameters allows farms to achieve ideal growth conditions. Additionally, underground farms minimize external environmental impacts, such as water pollution, a significant issue for conventional aquaculture. Underground farms can also be located in areas naturally conducive to clam cultivation, creating the most stable possible conditions for mollusk growth. Geoducks grow 5 to 7 years before harvesting. But what do farmers do during this growth period? They don't just wait, they carry out several crucial tasks. During the first years, farmers monitor tubes, checking for blockages caused by sand or algae. They protect clams from predators such as crabs, sea stars, fish, and birds that might enter the tubes. They also monitor sediment levels and water quality since geoducks are highly sensitive to pollution. Periodically, farmers selectively retrieve clams to check their size and condition, determining the optimal harvest time. Farms operate continuously. While one batch grows, farmers introduce new larvae. Every year, thousands of larvae are planted to maintain a steady harvest. To harvest clams, farmers come during low tide, when water recedes and sand is easier to dig. On the surface, 2 holes in the sand indicate the geoduck's siphon, through which it filters water. Farmers use special water pumps that spray high-pressure streams into the sand, loosening it. The farmer carefully retrieves the geoduck by hand, avoiding damage to its long siphon, highly valued in restaurants. Clams are then washed, chilled, and shipped alive to restaurants. Underground farms also minimize environmental impact, significantly reducing risks of water or ecosystem contamination compared to traditional open water farming methods. Moreover, these farms ensure continuous clam supply, despite weather or water level fluctuations. Geoducks can live over 140 years, making them among the longest living bivalve mollusks. Their age is determined by shell rings, similar to tree rings. They date back over 100 million years, existing during dinosaur times. Belonging to the Hyatelidae family from the Cretaceous period, these clams have changed little over millions of years, making them living fossils. Their survival strategy, burying deeply and filtering water, proved so effective evolution didn't require significant adaptation to new conditions. Interestingly, their ancient relatives were much smaller, while today's giant siphon evolved to allow deeper ocean floor burrowing, helping avoid predators. Unlike most animals, geoducks remain reproductively active throughout their lives. A female can release 5 million eggs in a single season. This and their shape have led to aphrodisiac myths, though scientific evidence is scarce. However, they contain high zinc levels, essential for testosterone production and reproductive health, as well as proteins, amino acids, and micronutrients beneficial for overall energy and wellness. Geoducks are spawning mollusks with external fertilization. Females and males release eggs and sperm simultaneously into the water, synchronizing reproduction and maximizing fertilization success. Fertilized eggs develop in the water, with larvae passing through several stages before settling on the bottom, anchoring themselves with their foot to suitable places, such as tubes or sandy ground. Settled larvae gradually mature into adult geoducks, reaching reproductive maturity within 5 to 7 years, crucial for farm harvesting. Farmers source geoducks in several ways, initially collecting wild clams capable of reproduction or purchasing juvenile clams from specialized hatcheries or companies. This allows quicker production startup without waiting for clams to mature. Some farmers reproduce clam populations independently through incubation and breeding stimulation. Naturally, farmers facilitate reproduction by ensuring optimal conditions. Due to the thick siphon skin, geoducks retain moisture and stay alive up to 5 days after harvesting, allowing frequent sales as fresh products. Every minute, more than 55 short tons of whey protein are produced worldwide. But just a few decades ago, people would simply pour out this liquid, not realizing it held one of the purest sources of protein. Today, it is a multi-billion-dollar industry where ordinary whey from milk undergoes a high-tech journey of filtration, drying, and packaging before ending up in your sports shake. How did this ordinary byproduct of the dairy industry become the foundation of sports nutrition? Let us figure it out. The cycle begins with choosing high-quality raw materials. Do you know what whey is, if we are not talking about vaccines? When milk is used to make cheese or yogurt, it separates into 2 parts: the solid curd that becomes cheese, and the liquid whey, which was thrown away or used as animal feed several decades ago. However, people discovered that this liquid is full of valuable proteins, so it is now filtered, dried, and transformed into powder, the same whey protein you find on store shelves. When milk curdles, only 10 or 20% of it turns into cheese, while the remaining 80 or 90% is whey. Most large protein producers work directly with farms located near their factories to secure a steady supply of this raw material. In the United States of America and Europe, whey often comes from large dairy farms. In Australia and New Zealand, it is commonly sourced from traditional pasture-based farms, where cows eat natural grass. The quality of the protein depends on the quality of the milk, and that quality is influenced by how cows are raised. This is why some brands emphasize that their whey protein is from grass-fed cows, without antibiotics or hormones, and from certified dairy farms. The type of final product also depends on the milk's fat content. If the milk is used to produce a full-fat cheese, such as cheddar or Gouda, the resulting whey has less fat and is more suitable for making a pure protein powder. If it is a lower-fat cheese or cultured dairy product, the whey may contain more lactose, which affects the flavor and overall quality of the final powder. Many whey protein manufacturers prefer whey from hard cheeses because it typically has a higher concentration of pure protein and fewer byproducts. To make about 2 pounds of cheese, you need approximately 2 1/2 gallons of milk, and the rest of that milk turns into liquid whey, which can be used to obtain protein. Whey protein naturally contains very little fat, since most of the fat stays in the cheese. The whey that will be turned into protein is transported to factories in special sealed containers or tankers. Because whey is a liquid that spoils quickly, it must be delivered at low temperatures to maintain its quality. Once whey is collected from the milk, it is cooled to around 39 degrees Fahrenheit to reduce the risk of bacterial growth. For transport, Specialized insulated tankers or trucks with refrigerated compartments are used. These vehicles can maintain a constant temperature to keep the whey fresh during the trip. Transport containers are typically airtight to prevent air from spoiling the whey and to preserve its quality. After delivery, the whey is usually tested to ensure it meets the standards required for further processing into protein. This transport system guarantees that the whey arrives at the factory with its beneficial properties intact and is ready for the next steps of protein powder production. Once the whey reaches the plant, it is carefully transferred from the tankers into large, specialized reservoirs. These are often stainless steel vats or other containers that keep the liquid hygienic. If the whey has not yet been cooled to the ideal temperature, it undergoes additional chilling to prevent bacterial growth and to provide optimal conditions for the next manufacturing stages. At this stage, the whey may pass through filters to remove any foreign particles or unwanted impurities. This step is crucial to avoid quality issues later in the protein production process. Often, the whey is first concentrated by removing some of the water through ultrafiltration or other techniques, which increases the protein content. In certain cases, the whey may be heated to activate specific enzymes or prepare it for subsequent processes, thereby improving the efficiency of protein extraction. Protein, also called a protein molecule, is an organic compound composed of amino acids linked by peptide bonds. It is a major building block of the cells in living organisms and performs numerous vital functions within the body. Proteins play a key role in forming tissues, cells, and organs, as well as in driving various processes essential for an organism's life activities. They are the main components of cells and tissues. Proteins create structures like muscles, skin, hair, nails, organs, and other tissues. Many enzymes are proteins that speed up chemical reactions in the body, including food breakdown, energy production, and other important biochemical functions. Proteins are involved in the transport of molecules and ions in the body, such as hemoglobin, which carries oxygen in the blood. They also regulate various biological processes, including growth and development, and support the body's immune defenses in the form of antibodies. Although supplying energy is not the primary role of protein, the body can use it as an energy source when necessary, especially if carbohydrates and fats are in short supply. Proteins consist of 20 main amino acids, 9 of which are essential, meaning the human body cannot produce them, and they must come from food. Animal products like meat, fish, milk, and eggs contain all the essential amino acids, making them complete protein sources. Membrane filtration is a critical step in processing whey for protein powder production. It allows an efficient separation of the beneficial protein from less useful components, such as lactose, fats, and minerals. This procedure employs special filtration membranes with microscopic pores, functioning like extremely fine sieves that only allow molecules of certain sizes, including proteins, to pass through. 3 main types of membranes are typically used for membrane filtration: ultrafiltration, nanofiltration, and reverse osmosis. In the first stage, membranes with larger pores let water, lactose, and minerals pass through, while holding back larger protein molecules. Nanofiltration membranes have smaller pores, allowing only smaller molecules such as minerals to pass, while retaining bigger protein molecules. The final step, often referred to simply as osmosis in a reverse osmosis system, helps remove water and small molecules like lactose, resulting in a concentrated protein. Once the whey enters the membrane system, it is pushed through the membranes under pressure. The portion of the liquid that contains dissolved substances such as water, lactose, and minerals passes through the membrane, while larger protein molecules remain on the membrane's surface. This approach yields a more concentrated protein. After membrane filtration, the whey is divided into 2 streams. One contains the larger protein molecules, the concentrated protein, which will be further refined into protein powder. The other includes lactose, minerals, and water, and may be discarded or used for other food or industrial purposes. This process can be repeated multiple times to further boost protein concentration, resulting in protein concentrate or protein isolate, which differ in their levels of purity. Following membrane filtration, once the whey has reached a high protein concentration, the next step is drying. This is crucial because it transforms the liquid concentrate into a powdered form that is easy to store, transport, and use. One of the most widespread methods involves exposing the whey concentrate to a stream of heated air, which evaporates the moisture and leaves behind powder. This approach is sometimes referred to as hot air drying, or a form of air-based microfiltration, and it is commonly used to produce powders with a high protein content. In the case of rotary dryers, the whey concentrate is dispensed onto rapidly rotating drums heated by hot air, causing the moisture to evaporate. Another frequently used technique is spray drying, where the whey is sprayed into fine droplets in a chamber that circulates hot air. The droplets quickly lose moisture, forming small particles of powder that readily dissolve in water. During drying, it is crucial to control the temperature, because very high temperatures could damage protein molecules or compromise the final product's quality. Typically, the temperature does not exceed 175 degrees Fahrenheit in order to retain all of the protein's beneficial properties. After this step, the whey becomes a powder with a moisture content of less than 5%. The powder is then stored in sealed packages to prevent it from absorbing moisture from the air. That is all there is to it. The only remaining task is to package the finished protein. Modern factories use high-speed packaging lines. For example, a single automated line can fill up to 40 packages per minute. Over one day, it can pack around 50,000 packages of protein powder, which usually totals 2 or 3 short tons of finished product. The packaging process is completely automated. Powder travels directly from a container or hopper into packaging machines that automatically fill each package with gram-level accuracy, ensuring precise dosing. Packaging machines operate not only at high speed, but also with great precision. They can include sealed closure systems to prevent air and moisture from entering, which helps the product remain fresh. An automated system inspects every package to detect any defects, such as incomplete sealing, and discards flawed packages. Once the protein powder is packed, the packages may be automatically marked, labeled, and moved onto a conveyor for further boxing or palletizing for shipment. These machines are capable of packing up to 1,000 packages per hour into a single box, guaranteeing rapid and efficient delivery of the final product to consumers around the world. Every year, thousands of peacocks are bred in China, generating billions of dollars in revenue. These birds are not just a lavish addition to estates, they are a true gold mine. Their feathers sell for dozens of dollars per piece, and their meat is served in luxury restaurants for hundreds. But did you know that peacocks are also bred for cosmetics and traditional medicine? How did China turn these exotic birds into a global business? Let's find out. At first glance, a peacock seems like nothing more than a decorative bird. However, China's peacock breeding industry has long moved beyond simple admiration for their beauty. Farmers supply peacocks to parks, reserves, hotels, high-end restaurants, and even private estates. The price of a single bird can range from $100 to $1,000, depending on the breed and coloration. Albino peacocks and rare varieties with unusual color patterns are especially sought after. Peacock feathers are widely used in high fashion, theater productions, and jewelry making. Long, iridescent feathers sell for dozens of dollars each, while exclusive sets can fetch hundreds. Chinese farmers carefully collect molted feathers, creating an entire market around them. While eating peacock meat is considered unacceptable in many cultures, in China, it is served as a gourmet delicacy in high-end restaurants. It is said to resemble pheasant, but with a more tender taste. The price of a portion of peacock meat can range from $50 to $100. Peacock fat and extracts are used in traditional Chinese medicine and cosmetics. These are believed to have rejuvenating and healing properties, making peacocks yet another lucrative source of income for farmers. At large farms, tourists can not only observe the birds, but also feed them, take stunning photos, or even purchase a feather as a souvenir. This business attracts additional investments and increases the value of peacock farming. It seems these birds generate profit with every aspect of their existence. Peacocks have been bred for thousands of years, fascinating people since the times of ancient Egypt, Greece, and China. It is believed that the first domesticated peacocks appeared in India, where they were revered as sacred birds. They were later transported to Persia and eventually to Europe. The ancient Romans not only admired peacocks, but also served them as a banquet delicacy. However, the real boom in peacock farming began in China during the 20th century. Farmers quickly realized that these birds were not just decorative, but also highly profitable. Before the coronavirus outbreak in the year 2020, China had approximately 20,000 farms breeding various wild animals, including peacocks. This industry generated around 74 billion United States dollars and provided jobs for 14 million people. After the outbreak, the Chinese government shut down these farms due to concerns about virus transmission from wild animals to humans. The size of a peacock farm can vary significantly depending on the scale of production and breeding purposes. Small private farms may occupy just a few thousand square feet, while large commercial facilities span multiple acres. The ideal farm size depends on ensuring the birds have enough space for comfortable living and breeding, while efficiently organizing farm infrastructure. Peacocks require ample space to move freely and display their magnificent tails. The recommended area per bird is approximately 100 to 160 square feet. This means that a farm with 100 peacocks would need at least 11,000 to 16,000 square feet of open space. Additionally, space must be allocated for shelters, feeders, incubators, and other farm structures. Choosing a location also depends on climate conditions, access to feed and water, and proximity to sales markets. In regions with mild climates, peacocks can be kept outdoors for most of the year, reducing shelter construction costs. However, in areas with cold winters, farmers must provide heated enclosures, increasing the farm's overall footprint. Everything starts with eggs. Wild peacocks lay up to 20 eggs per season, but on farms, with proper care and a balanced diet, a single female can produce up to 40 eggs. The eggs are collected and placed in incubators, special machines maintaining a temperature of 99.5 degrees Fahrenheit and humidity around 60%. Under these conditions, embryos develop, and in 27 to 30 days, the first chicks hatch. Newborn peacock chicks are highly sensitive to temperature, so they are kept in heated enclosures at temperatures ranging from 85 to 95 degrees Fahrenheit during their first weeks. They are fed finely chopped boiled eggs, millet, and special protein, and vitamin-rich feeds. By 1.5 months, they begin to grow faster and are transferred to larger enclosures. It is crucial to provide at least 3 square feet per bird. Otherwise, they may start competing for space and food. Peacocks grow slowly. It takes 2 to 3 years for them to reach their full size and develop their spectacular plumage. During this time, farmers carefully monitor their diet, living conditions, and health. The birds are fed grain mixtures, greens, insects, and protein supplements. An adult peacock consumes slightly more than 1 pound of feed per day. Although peacocks are quite resilient, they can suffer from viral and bacterial infections. Farmers vaccinate them and conduct regular feather inspections. Checking feather quality is a crucial aspect of peacock care, especially on farms where they are bred for sale or decorative purposes. Farmers or veterinarians examine feathers for damage, molting, parasites, and overall health. They check for broken, dull, or missing feathers. The brightness and uniformity of the coloration indicate the bird's well-being. Feathers and skin are also inspected for mites, lice, or fungal infections. The tail feathers of males receive special attention, as they are the primary decorative feature. Farmers carefully spread them out to assess length and integrity, ensuring molting occurs naturally. Peacocks molt annually, and this process lasts for 2 to 3 months. If necessary, birds are bathed in special parasite treatments, or their feathers are conditioned with nourishing agents. When peacocks reach the desired age, they are categorized based on purpose. The most beautiful and healthy males and females are sold for decorative purposes. Some birds are kept on farms to continue breeding. Every year, peacocks shed their magnificent feathers, which farmers collect for sale. These feathers are used in fashion, decor, and art. Of course, some birds are also processed for meat. Peacock meat is dark and tender, somewhat similar to pheasant, but with a richer aroma. It is often prepared with citrus fruits, wine, or spices to enhance its refined flavor. Despite being exotic, peacock meat remains a niche product, but for farmers, it is yet another revenue stream. The purchase of peacock carcasses is a niche yet stable market. Restaurants and hotels place regular orders, though in limited quantities. Private customers usually buy peacock meat for special occasions. Who buys peacocks for consumption? High-end restaurants, especially in China, India, and the Middle Eastern countries. Chefs order peacock meat for exclusive dishes served in VIP rooms or at special events. Wellness centers. Some Asian practices believe peacock meat has medicinal properties. It may be recommended for boosting immunity or as an energy-rich food. Luxury hotels. Large resort complexes catering to affluent tourists may include peacock dishes on their menus. As for feathers, peacocks shed their plumage annually, allowing farmers to collect up to 200 long feathers per bird without harming them. This is a distinct business sector, as peacock feathers are used in high fashion for clothing and accessories, stage costumes, jewelry making, interior decoration, and cultural rituals. Farms export feathers worldwide, generating a significant portion of their revenue. Peacocks are sold through zoological farms, online stores, and specialized auctions. Chinese farmers have mastered promoting their products through social media and even use live streams to showcase their birds to buyers. Peacock exports from China are growing rapidly. The highest demand comes from the Arabian countries, the United States, India, and Europe. Peacock feathers are transported worldwide using various methods depending on volume and destination. Feathers are either hand-plucked or removed with special tools, then carefully packaged to prevent damage. They are primarily collected during natural molting when the feathers fall off on their own. Feathers are meticulously packed in special boxes or bags to prevent bending or breaking during transport. Soft materials such as paper or fabric are often used for extra protection. Thanks to modern logistics systems, peacock feathers can be shipped by sea, air, or rail. Large shipments are usually transported by sea freight, while air freight is used for faster deliveries. Since peacock feathers may be subject to export and import regulations, proper documentation and certification are essential for customs clearance. Specialized logistics companies with experience handling delicate cargo typically manage large-scale or international shipments. Every single year, more than 20 million short tons of dairy products are produced worldwide, and Nestlé condensed milk takes a significant portion of that total. Just imagine this. Each day, over 100,000 gallons of milk arrive at the company's factories, but even the freshest milk still shows up dirty. Yes, indeed, microscopic particles of dust, feed, and even traces of blood can make their way inside. How do they turn all that into perfectly smooth, thick condensed milk that melts in your mouth? And why would it be a completely different product without those tiny lactose crystals? Watch until the very end. You will not believe what every drop goes through. Today, Nestlé is one of the leading global companies in the food industry, and its products, including condensed milk, are represented in many markets around the world. It all started in the year 1866, when the Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Company was founded, becoming the very first to produce condensed milk in Europe. Meanwhile, in the year 1867, the Swiss pharmacist Henri Nestlé developed the first infant milk formula, which marked the beginning of the Nestlé brand. Nestlé began producing condensed milk in the 1870s, entering into direct competition with Anglo-Swiss. However, in the year 1905, the two companies united, forming one large corporation called Nestlé, and Anglo-Swiss Condensed Milk Company. This move provided the impetus for rapid development of condensed milk production and export all over the world. Initially, condensed milk was positioned as a nutritious and long-lasting product that could replace fresh milk, especially in regions with limited access to high-quality dairy. Because of its prolonged shelf life and ease of transportation, it quickly gained popularity, not only among military personnel and travelers, but also in everyday family life. In the United States of America, Nestlé began its active condensed milk production at the start of the 20th century, constructing its factories and expanding its market presence. Over time, the brand came to be associated with high quality, and Nestlé condensed milk became an integral part of culinary culture, especially in desserts, baked goods, and coffee beverages. Today, Nestlé continues to produce condensed milk under different brand names, supplying markets in the United States of America and worldwide with products that combine tradition and modern standards of quality. The milk that is delivered to Nestlé factories is subject to extremely strict requirements. The company adheres to international quality and safety standards to guarantee the production of flawless products. Milk is supplied from verified dairy farms, where cows receive balanced nutrition and veterinary care. Before being sent to the factory, the milk undergoes its initial quality tests right there on the farm. The level of fat, protein, and the absence of antibiotics or other unwanted impurities are checked. Milk is transported in special refrigerated stainless steel tanks. The temperature during transportation is maintained at approximately 39 degrees Fahrenheit to preserve freshness and prevent bacterial growth. These tanks are sealed and regularly disinfected to ensure the highest standards of hygiene are upheld. Every day, around 100,000 gallons of milk arrive at Nestlé factories. Once the milk reaches the factory, it is tested again in the laboratory. Only then does it go into the main production process. The milk that makes the cut is fresh, safe, and of the finest quality. Precisely what becomes the foundation for the legendary Nestlé condensed milk. But how does it become so exceptional? An interesting fact is that no matter how perfect the process might be, the milk inevitably arrives at the factory dirty. As surprising as it may sound, the milk can contain microscopic particles that end up there during milking or transportation. These may be small leftovers of feed, dust, tiny bits of dirt from milking equipment, or other undesirable elements that are invisible to the naked eye. It is totally normal, since milk is a natural product, and these microscopic contaminants may appear during milking or storage. Cleaning and filtration are essential steps at the factory, which make the milk cleaner and safer for consumption by removing such particles. After the milk arrives, it first passes through filters that trap larger particles like hair, bits of feed, dust, or any other visible impurities. This is the primary step in getting rid of coarse debris. Next, the milk may go through a centrifuge. During this process, the milk spins at high speed, and due to centrifugal force, heavier particles like fat, impurities, or even traces of blood that might have entered the milk during milking are separated. You might wonder where blood could come from. I will explain. In a cow's body, blood is what transforms into milk in a complex biological process. Plus, an animal can have minor scrapes. Centrifugation also allows for standardizing the milk's fat content, if necessary, depending on whether high-fat or low-fat milk is being produced. The next phase is microfiltration. This is a finer filtration method that uses special membranes to remove small particles and microorganisms. It helps ensure even greater purity of the milk, which is crucial for the safety of the final product. After filtration, the milk is cooled to a low temperature, around 40 degrees Fahrenheit, to maintain freshness until further processing steps, such as pasteurization. Initially, the cleaned and cooled milk is temporarily stored in large, sterile stainless steel tanks. The pasteurization process at large factories like Nestlé is fully automated. When pasteurization begins, the milk flows from the tanks to the pasteurization units through sealed pipes. These pipes are made of stainless steel, which eliminates the possibility of contaminating the milk during transfer. Before entering the pasteurization apparatus, the milk may once again pass through filters for additional removal of any small particles that might still be present. The milk is pumped through the system by pumps that regulate both pressure and flow rate, ensuring a smooth, continuous process. The milk goes directly into a plate or tubular heat exchanger, which is a specialized piece of equipment that rapidly raises the milk to the necessary pasteurization temperature. The tubes or plates are heated by hot water or steam, and as the milk passes through them, it is heated to the required temperature, for example around 167 degrees Fahrenheit. In enormous silver-colored stainless steel tanks that resemble giant gleaming columns, fresh pasteurized milk is stored. Through a network of intertwining pipes, which seem almost like steel veins, the milk travels to separators, machines that rotate at extremely high speed, creating a fascinating visual effect. Inside these machines, the milk is separated into cream and skim milk under the influence of tremendous centrifugal force, which is difficult even to imagine. The large storage tanks at factories like Nestlé can hold anywhere from 5,000 to 50,000 gallons of milk, depending on the scale of production. The most common tanks have a capacity of about 30,000 gallons. On special display screens, digital readouts show the fat content, density, and temperature. Everything is under strict control. Robotic arms measure the exact amount of cream, blending it with skim milk to achieve the perfect balance. This step is reminiscent of how an artist carefully selects just the right shades of paint for a canvas. This is milk standardization. The process is automated and appears almost futuristic. Pipes carrying the milk, immaculate cleanliness, the hum of high-speed machines, and precision down to the thousandths of an ounce. The standardized milk comes out of the system, prepared for the next steps. To make sweet condensed milk, they add sugar, which can be around 40 or 45% of the mixture. Sugar here does more than just sweeten. It also acts as a preservative, helping the product last longer. The primary stage is removing excess water. The milk and sugar mixture is fed into vacuum evaporation systems, where, under reduced pressure, the blend is heated to approximately 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Thanks to the vacuum, the water evaporates quickly without scorching the milk. The outcome is a thicker mass with a significantly lower water content. About 30% instead of 87%, which is found in ordinary milk. After evaporation, this milk mass is still very hot and extremely thick. It is transferred to special cooling tanks, where cold water or a cooling fluid circulates along the walls. These are huge metal containers through which a chill seeps, almost like a gentle winter breeze. Large paddles, similar to giant mixers, slowly stir the milk, turning smoothly and steadily, so the mass does not settle or stick to the walls. The process is slightly like making ice cream. The hot mixture gradually cools down to about 90 degrees Fahrenheit. When the temperature reaches the right point, lactose crystals, milk sugar, are introduced into the mixture. These tiny, almost imperceptible particles act as seeds for the formation of thousands upon thousands of microscopic crystals in the milk mass. The milk continues to be gently stirred, and the crystals begin to grow in a very uniform way, thanks to precise temperature control and carefully managed stirring speed. If this process is disrupted, the crystals become too large, and then the condensed milk would end up grainy rather than smooth and creamy in texture. At the end of this process, the condensed milk attains the smooth, thick consistency, with a slight sheen that we all recognize. The result of perfect cooling and the meticulous handling of lactose crystals. In this way, from the chaotic ocean of hot milk emerges the sweet and tender product we know as condensed milk. Before packaging, the condensed milk is filtered one more time to remove any possible remaining unwanted particles and is tested for compliance with the standards. The finished condensed milk is packaged into cans, tubes, or pouches in aseptic conditions, sealed tightly, and then sent for cooling. Afterward, the product is ready for storage and distribution. Every single day, more than 20 million banknotes are destroyed in the United States. That is a mountain of money that could reach the sky. But what exactly happens to them? Are they burned, shredded, or maybe turned into something completely unexpected? US dollars have their own life cycle, and their disposal is a high-security operation involving armored trucks, strict inspections, and secret routes. How do old banknotes disappear forever? And is there any way to save them? Let's find out. The dollar as a currency has a fascinating history. It all began in the mid-17th century. The first dollars appeared in the New England colonies in the year 1690, at a time when the United States did not yet have a unified national currency. Back then, the colonies issued their own money, and one of these was the so-called paper dollar. However, the true dollar as we know it today emerged later, in the year 1792, when the United States Congress passed the Coinage Act. This was the country's first attempt to introduce a single currency, establishing the dollar standard based on a silver coin. The dollar quickly became the main currency for trade and wealth accumulation, as the nation sought to create a stable and accessible monetary system that would support its economy and commercial ties. Today, the dollar has evolved into one of the world's leading currencies, used in international transactions across the globe. The idea of disposing of old banknotes arose at the beginning of modern financial systems, especially when currencies started to become standardized and central banks began managing the money supply. In other words, the process of removing worn-out dollars started as soon as money became a stable and regulated instrument, though it was not officially systematized until much later. The concept of destroying damaged money first appeared in Great Britain during the 19th century, when the British government realized that allowing worn-out banknotes or coins to remain in circulation reduced the overall value of the currency. However, the systematic destruction of money, as it is done today, only became possible with advancements in modern financial systems and technology. In the United States, the first efforts to manage old and worn-out dollars began in the mid-19th century, when the first central authorities responsible for currency emerged, and money became a key instrument of the national economy. In the year 1861, when the United States first introduced federal paper money, known as greenbacks, the need arose to organize their circulation, including their disposal. The official process of destroying old dollars was established by the Federal Reserve after its creation in the year 1913. The Federal Reserve became the primary institution responsible for regulating the money supply, including removing old banknotes from circulation. The idea of destroying old banknotes was first introduced by central banks, which discovered that worn-out and damaged money not only harmed the image of a national currency, but could also create economic problems. If old banknotes remained in circulation, it could destabilize the monetary system, increase the risk of counterfeiting, and even affect inflation rates. To prevent this, the Federal Reserve established a clear policy outlining when and how banknotes should be removed from circulation. This became an essential part of maintaining economic stability. So, what exactly happens to all the money that can no longer be used and that no one wants to see anymore? Are they just burned? Well, not exactly. Disposing of US dollars is a complex process that follows a highly regulated system, ensuring both destruction and security. Here's how it works. First of all, when money is removed from circulation, whether it is declared damaged or obsolete, it does not simply get thrown in the trash. Everything goes through the United States Federal Reserve System, which manages the issuance and renewal of dollars. They collect old banknotes and send them to specialized facilities for further disposal. When you or someone else brings damaged or worn-out dollars to a bank, that is where the process begins. Banks have strict procedures for identifying banknotes that are no longer fit for circulation. These banknotes are inspected both manually and automatically using specialized machines that detect damage, wear, or counterfeit signs. Modern ATMs and cash dispensers are also equipped with sensors to detect worn-out banknotes. If a bill is found to be damaged or degraded, it is usually placed into special compartments or sent to sorting machines in banks. Once a sufficient number of old banknotes accumulate in banks, they are sent to the next stage, the Federal Reserve. These are special facilities located across the country that inspect, replace, and dispose of currency. Several such centers exist across the United States, strategically positioned to efficiently serve all regions. The process of transporting old banknotes to the Federal Reserve or specialized disposal facilities is strictly regulated. Banks typically work with security firms specializing in transporting large sums of money. Old banknotes are packed into special bags or containers that are sealed and secured against unauthorized access. This is crucial because even old money remains a potential target for theft or counterfeiting if not handled properly. Security guards or specialized couriers deliver these packages to the Federal Reserve or disposal facilities. The transport companies involved in this process operate under the highest security standards, and shipments are often escorted by police or other security services when necessary. You would not believe how many old banknotes accumulate each year, and this applies not only to US dollars, but also to other currencies. Bank vaults are not limitless in space, so from time to time, large batches of worn-out bills must be removed. Every day, thousands of banknotes pass through people's hands. Some get crumpled, some get coffee spilled on them, and some even end up in the laundry. Add the natural wear and tear, and you have a massive pile of money that is no longer usable. Imagine this. Every single day, the United States Federal Reserve destroys millions of banknotes. If you stacked them up, they would reach as high as a skyscraper. And that is just in one day. Transporting such massive amounts requires trucks. Money is packed into special bags or boxes. Each container has a unique number and seal to ensure it remains unopened. And while these may no longer be real money in a traditional sense, they still hold value. So the security of such shipments is incredibly tight. It is almost like a scene from an action movie. Armored trucks, armed guards, secret routes. Except here, instead of a heist, the mission is to get rid of this money forever. A true financial thriller, right? Before the old banknotes are destroyed, they go through careful inspection. Special systems determine whether they can be reused. If a banknote still retains at least 50% of its original form, it can be reintroduced into circulation after a special treatment, such as reprocessing or trimming. This significantly reduces the cost of printing new banknotes. Every year, an enormous amount of old dollars is destroyed in the United States. For example, in the year 2020, around 7 billion banknotes were eliminated because they were too worn out to remain in circulation. This process is continuously maintained at the highest level to keep the currency stable. Some damaged banknotes are not immediately burned. Instead, they are recycled into other materials, such as fibers that are later used to produce new banknotes. This helps reduce production costs and support sustainability efforts. There is also an interesting psychological aspect to this process. For many people, destroying money might seem like a loss of value, but in reality, it is part of a continuous cycle that helps preserve the stability and worth of the currency. That is why this process is just as crucial as printing new money. Old US dollars are often destroyed in specialized incinerators or through processes that ensure maximum material utilization. Banknotes are burned at temperatures of approximately 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit, completely obliterating them. Furthermore, advanced filtration and technology capture toxic gases and other harmful byproducts to ensure safety during the process. But does it not feel strange to burn so much money? Given how much we spend daily, these sums seem enormous. However, the portion of money that gets destroyed is actually a tiny fraction of the total circulating supply. In the end, the system is highly reliable and efficient. After the banknotes are burned, tons of ash remain. Some companies repurpose this ash into materials for making compost or even bricks. This part fascinates me. Dollars get reborn and continue serving humanity in new ways. Every year, over 150 million carats of diamonds are mined worldwide. But did you know that some mines are so deep that the temperature inside exceeds 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and powerful explosions can cause seismic tremors felt up to 50 miles away? Diamond mining isn't just digging. It's a full-scale scientific operation that starts with satellite analysis and can last for decades. How are these precious stones found? How do drilling rigs reach depths of 10,000 feet? And what happens to diamonds after they're mined? Let's break it down together. Diamonds form deep beneath the Earth's surface and are brought up through volcanic processes that create kimberlite pipes. These pipes, made of ancient igneous rock, are the primary sources of diamonds and can reach depths of over 10,000 feet, with temperatures inside the mines exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit. To cool these environments, powerful ventilation systems compress air. In some mines, the air is so pressurized that if a door between compartments is suddenly opened, the wind force can knock a person off their feet. Sounds dangerous, right? Before mining begins, geologists conduct extensive exploration that can last for decades. The process starts with analyzing satellite images and aerial photography. This is followed by field studies, where geologists collect rock samples for chemical analysis. Special attention is given to the presence of indicator minerals like garnets, ilmenite, and pyrope, which suggest the potential presence of diamonds. If the exploration yields positive results, Detailed surveying begins. Drilling rigs create boreholes up to 10,000 feet deep, extracting core samples, cylindrical sections of rock. These samples undergo thorough laboratory analysis to assess the diamond content in the rock. Geophysical methods like magnetic surveys, electromagnetic scanning, and gravimetry are used. Open pit mining is employed when the deposit is relatively close to the surface. Underground mining is used if diamond-bearing rocks are located at significant depths. Mine shafts are constructed, allowing workers and equipment to descend. Mining begins with drilling boreholes into the kimberlite rock. For this, massive drilling rigs over 50 feet tall are used. Each borehole can reach lengths of 2,000 feet, and a single mine may have tens of thousands of such holes. After drilling, explosives are placed in the boreholes, and the detonation occurs under strictly controlled conditions. Some diamond mines use such powerful explosives that underground blasts can trigger minor seismic tremors detectable over 50 miles away. First, vertical shafts are dug, reaching depths of over 10,000 feet. The diameter of the main mine shafts often exceeds 20 feet. Additionally, horizontal tunnels are constructed, stretching for several miles. After the explosion, the rock in the mine breaks into pieces of various sizes, from large boulders to fine gravel. Powerful loaders with buckets lift the debris and transport it to central transfer points. Here, massive dump trucks, each capable of carrying over 250 tons of rock, load the extracted material and deliver it to the main tunnels. In some mines, instead of trucks, specialized electric trains running on tracks tens of miles long are used, capable of transporting over 500 tons of kimberlite rock per trip. The main tunnels are equipped with conveyor systems that start at depths of several thousand feet and extend to the surface. The length of these belt conveyors can exceed 15 miles, with belt widths over 6 feet. Some systems have multi-level structures, allowing simultaneous material transport from different parts of the mine. Before being placed on the conveyor, large rock fragments pass through crushing stations, where massive steel rollers over 20 feet long break the debris into fragments no larger than 3 feet in diameter. The crushers operate with compressive forces of tens of thousands of pounds per square inch and can process over 10,000 tons per hour. After initial crushing, the material is loaded onto the main conveyor belts, which transport it to the washing system. In some sections, the conveyors pass through special grottos equipped with giant sieves with holes of various sizes. During transport, smaller rock particles are sifted and directed to separate processing lines, while larger pieces move to the next stage of crushing. The newest mines are equipped with automated control systems that analyze the rock composition in real time and adjust conveyor speed and crushing intensity. As the future diamonds approach the surface, they are fed into special bunkers where the rock accumulates, ready for further processing. The capacity of these bunkers can exceed 100,000 tons, and their structure allows for even material distribution to washing and sorting facilities. In mines located in deep regions, transporting the rock can take several hours, with annual extraction volumes reaching millions of tons. When I was a kid, my family loved going to the beach. It didn't happen often. My dad rarely had time off. But when it did, everyone was thrilled and happy. Diving underwater to find seashells, crabs, or even clams, I never imagined that diamonds could be mined from the sea. Deep sea diamond mining is one of the most complex and technologically advanced methods in the mining industry. Mines are located where kimberlite pipes or alluvial deposits lie beneath the ocean floor at depths exceeding 500 feet. Geologists begin by conducting surveys using underwater drilling rigs. These rigs are stationed on specialized offshore platforms or vessels equipped with computerized navigation systems for precise positioning over potential deposits. Once diamond-bearing deposits are confirmed, the construction of an underwater mine begins. This is a complex process involving the creation of sealed tunnels or the use of massive drilling capsules operating under high pressure. One method involves using giant seabed drilling complexes, which can exceed 200 feet in length and weigh over 5,000 tons. These complexes are equipped with diamond-tipped drills capable of cutting through even the hardest rock. During drilling, a specialized hydraulic system creates a water flow under pressures exceeding 3,000 pounds per square inch, washing out small rock particles and diamonds into special reservoirs. Another method uses giant underwater vacuum systems that can descend to depths of up to 1,000 feet and suck up hundreds of thousands of cubic feet of rock per hour. The material is then brought aboard a vessel or platform for initial processing. Special underwater crushers can process up to 50 tons of kimberlite rock per hour. Powerful pumping systems are used to transport the rock to the surface, capable of moving up to 1 million gallons of water per day. Streams of enriched rock are directed through pipelines that can stretch for several miles. The material then enters large sorting tanks, where it passes through gravity separators. Heavier diamonds settle at the bottom, while lighter particles are washed away and returned to the sea. Remotely operated underwater vehicles play a crucial role in deep-sea mining, operating at depths of up to 10,000 feet. They are equipped with manipulators that can precisely collect large diamonds directly from the seabed. Their high-resolution cameras allow operators, located hundreds of miles away, to control the process in real time. Deep-sea mining is so complex and costly that only a few countries in the world have the necessary technology. It can cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and the full mining cycle can take over 10 years. Despite the challenges, this method yields millions of carats of diamonds annually, supplying the global market with precious stones hidden in the ocean's depths for billions of years. On the surface, the extracted rock is crushed in processing plants, where massive steel jaws over 20 feet long break the stones into fragments smaller than 2 inches. Each plant can process over 10,000 tons of material per day. After crushing, the rock passes through a series of washing tanks filled with water and chemical reagents. Diamonds, which have high density, settle at the bottom, while lighter minerals are washed away. Once the material is on the surface, specialized X-ray separators are used to identify diamonds based on their ability to fluoresce under ultraviolet light. Magnetic separators work by exploiting differences in the magnetic properties of materials. Diamonds are non-magnetic, while most minerals in kimberlite rock have weak magnetic properties. In these systems, the rock is fed onto rotating drums over 20 feet long, which generate strong magnetic fields exceeding 10,000 Gauss. Magnetic mineral particles stick to the drum's surface and are removed into a separate container, while diamonds and non-magnetic rock residues move forward. X-ray systems are used in the next stage, when the rock is already significantly purified. These systems rely on diamonds' unique ability to fluoresce under X-ray radiation. The stones enter a special tunnel where they are exposed to X-rays with energies of up to 200 kiloelectronvolts. The diamonds begin to glow, and highly sensitive optical sensors instantly detect their location. The system then activates a high-speed air jet operating at pressures exceeding 100 pounds per square inch, which literally blows the diamonds out and directs them into a collection container. The cleaned diamonds are sorted by size, quality, and color. The sorting process is fully automated and managed by operators in specialized control centers. Each operator monitors dozens of X-ray systems using high-resolution computer panels. Modern systems use machine learning algorithms that can adjust equipment parameters in real time for maximum efficiency. If malfunctions or deviations occur, operators can manually change settings or redirect material flows for reprocessing. A single system can process up to 20 tons of material per hour with precision that detects even the tiniest diamonds smaller than 1/10 of an inch. At large diamond mines, dozens of such systems operate simultaneously, extracting hundreds of millions of carats annually. After sorting, the diamonds are sent for cutting, where artisans use lasers and mechanical tools to transform them into precious gemstones. Once cut, they enter the market, sold as part of jewelry or used for industrial purposes. Did you know that over 3 billion cans of preserved peaches are produced globally every year? But how do peaches go from orchard trees to perfect slices in syrup that we all love? From harvest to sealing freshness in cans, this is a high-tech process where every second counts. Imagine a factory filling up to 30,000 cans per hour. Ready to peek behind the scenes of this amazing production? The journey of canned peaches begins in meticulously cared-for orchards. And here is something important. Specific varieties of peaches are chosen for canning. Picture a tree bred to prepare its fruit for a long life in a can. These peaches are cultivated with taste, firmness, and shelf life in mind. They are not just pretty, they are strategically important. These orchards are typically located in regions with warm climates and plenty of sunshine. Peaches love the sun. It is like their secret ingredient. The main peach-growing regions are found in areas with mild and warm climates. California, Georgia, and South Carolina lead the United States in peach production. Among other countries, Italy stands out, especially northern Italy, where a combination of mountains and valleys creates the perfect climate. China is another major global producer. Peaches are grown in nearly all its provinces. Depending on the country, peach orchards can range from a few acres on small family farms to hundreds of acres for industrial producers. In California alone, orchards designated for canning peaches span over 25,000 acres. In Italy, the total area for peach cultivation is approximately 170,000 acres, though not all are used for processing. Growing peaches is a true art. Here are a few key challenges. While peaches thrive in warmth, severe frost can destroy buds or even entire trees. Therefore, cultivating peaches requires careful selection of varieties suited to the local climate. These trees need regular irrigation, but too much water can cause root rot. Fungal diseases like leaf curl and pests such as aphids require constant monitoring and treatment. Peach trees also need annual pruning to ensure optimal fruit growth. This is a complex but essential process. Additionally, peaches must ripen on the tree to be sweet and juicy, but they cannot overripe, as they become too soft for transportation. This means harvesting occurs on a very tight schedule. Most orchards for canning work with peach varieties that have slightly thicker skins and firmer flesh. This allows them to better withstand processing and transportation. Some farmers grow organic peaches, free from pesticides and chemicals. This is more challenging, but results in a premium product that is increasingly popular. Caring for peach orchards is not just work, it is a science. And though it is not easy, the result is fragrant, juicy peaches that we can enjoy even on cold winter days. Harvesting peaches can be mechanized. Tractors with special shakers gently shake the trees, and the fruits fall onto special mats. However, the most delicate varieties are harvested by hand to avoid damage. Did you know that every picked fruit reaches the factory within 24 hours? Here, every minute is worth its weight in gold. Once the peaches are harvested, their journey has just begun. Transporting them to the factory is a crucial stage because these fruits are incredibly delicate. To preserve their appearance and quality, strict rules must be followed. Right in the orchard, the harvested peaches are usually sorted. Damaged or overripe fruits are discarded as they can spoil during transportation. Peaches are packed into small boxes or plastic containers designed to minimize pressure. Often, they are lined with soft materials to avoid damage during transit. Since peaches spoil quickly, they are delivered to the factory as soon as possible, usually within a few hours of harvest. Factories are often located near the orchards to reduce travel time. Refrigerated trucks maintain temperatures at a maximum of 40 degrees Fahrenheit to slow the ripening process and reduce the risk of spoilage. In large operations, specialized systems gently move the fruits into containers. This reduces the risk of mechanical damage and minimizes manual labor. Every minute counts. If the peaches are delayed, they can begin to spoil or lose their appearance. Excess moisture can lead to rot, while insufficient moisture can cause the fruits to dry out. Therefore, containers and vehicles are equipped with systems to regulate these parameters. Each peach is, essentially, a delicate fruit that is easily damaged. Thus, they are packed carefully, with no unnecessary pressure. In some countries, like Italy or the United States, orchard owners use electric mini tractors to transport fruits from the orchard to intermediate storage. This is more eco-friendly and convenient. Farmers sometimes organize delivery at night or early in the morning when it is cooler. This helps keep the fruits fresh until they reach the factory. In large operations, transportation containers are labeled, so the factory knows exactly which orchard each batch came from. This helps track the quality of every harvest. As soon as the truck with peaches arrives at the factory, the fruits are immediately inspected for freshness and integrity. Those that pass inspection are sent to the first processing stage, washing and cleaning. And yes, this process happens as quickly as possible because freshness is the key to perfect canned peaches. Workers or automated systems quickly inspect the fruits to remove damaged, rotten, or overly ripe ones. Large operations use optical scanners to analyze the external appearance based on color, shape, and defects. Honestly, I would already be exhausted by the endless inspection, and this is just halfway through the peach's journey to store shelves. Even with modern technology, the human factor remains critical. Operators stand by the conveyor belt and pick out fruits that fail the automatic check. Sometimes, only a human eye can catch subtle defects. The fruits are weighed since overly small or underdeveloped ones may not meet canning standards. Washing is not just rinsing with water, but a full-fledged technological process. Peaches are harvested in orchards, where they can pick up dust, soil residues, or even chemical plant care products. After inspection, the fruits enter special rotating drums, where they are gently rinsed with water. Warm water with mild cleaning agents is used to remove even the smallest particles of dirt. Before peeling, peaches are rinsed again, this time with clean water without any additives. By the way, this entire process takes just a few minutes. Next, peaches are immersed in hot water or exposed to steam for a few seconds. This softens the skin, making it easy to remove. This method also helps preserve the texture of the flesh. Then, the peaches go to special machines equipped with rotating brushes or knives that carefully peel them. The goal is to avoid damaging the fruit and preserve as much flesh as possible. The next step involves removing the pits. Special devices carefully cut the peach in half and extract the core. But even here, there are nuances. Some peaches, known as clingstone, have pits that cling tightly to the flesh. These require more precise equipment. Peeled peaches undergo a final check to ensure the skin is completely removed and the fruit's shape is intact. This is especially important for canned peaches made from halves or quarters. After peeling, peaches are cut into halves, slices, or even cubes, depending on their intended use. Here, specialized machines with incredible precision come into play. Did you know some factories have blades that can slice peaches faster than you can blink? Even so, each slice is manually inspected to ensure no defects are missed. Next, the peaches are placed in cans and syrup is added. Depending on the recipe, the syrup can be light, medium, or thick. The most interesting part is that some recipes use special flavorings to enhance the taste of the peaches, and this is the detail you definitely notice when you open a can. The cans are sealed and immediately pasteurized. This means they are heated to high temperatures, which lock in freshness. During pasteurization, canned peaches are heated to approximately 200 degrees Fahrenheit. This temperature range is high enough to destroy harmful microorganisms, preserve the product's freshness, and extend its shelf life, but it does not affect the taste or texture of the peaches. By the way, the entire process takes just a few minutes, leaving no chance for bacteria. The speed of filling cans can reach from 3,000 to 30,000 cans per hour. This demonstrates the high level of automation and efficiency in such productions. After cooling, the cans are sorted, labeled, and sent to warehouses. Sometimes, they even undergo additional inspections, to make sure everything is perfect. Then these cans are shipped to stores worldwide. Did you know the United States, China, and Greece are the 3 largest producers of canned peaches? Additionally, global tasting competitions are held to select the best syrup. Yes, this industry has its own Oscar. So next time you open a can of peaches, remember how many people and machines work to bring this dessert to your table. You know what? They really nailed it. Have you ever wondered how the beer you drink is made? Imagine this: 1 million tons of grain every year, thousands of bottles filled every minute, and automated machines working with millimeter precision. We are diving into the world of brewing at the Anheuser-Busch factory, the largest beer producer in the world. We will discover how ordinary barley transforms into a hoppy beverage, and why every drop of Budweiser undergoes meticulous quality control. This is not just production. It is a spectacle of scale, flavor, and innovation that you absolutely will not want to miss. Did you know that the average American drinks about 2,500 ounces of beer annually? And while the Czech Republic and Germany lead in beer consumption, Anheuser-Busch supplies a significant portion of the global demand. It all begins with humble barley. At the factory, I witnessed how tons of grain are delivered and processed before being turned into malt, one of beer's main ingredients. Everything here is automated. Specialized machines grind the grain and soak it in water to wake up the enzymes. It literally looks like a dance of machinery, with each piece knowing its role precisely. In enormous steel tanks as tall as a 3-story building, giant machines load tons of golden barley. You can hear the soft, calming sound of the grain cascading downward, reminiscent of gentle rain. What happens next is pure technological magic. Special machines delicately grind the grain, exposing its core, starch. It looks as though the grain passes through a massive waterfall, transforming into a light, fluffy powder. This powder then ends up in enormous vats filled with warm water. Here is an interesting fact. The machines do not simply soak the grain in water. They maintain an ideal temperature and humidity level, like a steam bath designed to activate the enzymes. You can see the vats come alive with hot steam passing through them. Water mixes with the ground grain, forming a thick, creamy mixture that begins to release the aroma of freshly baked bread. This moment feels incredibly vivid. It is as if the grain awakens and starts working together with this mechanical orchestra. The malt vat begins to rotate. Yes, it does not just sit still. It practically dances, with special paddles mixing the blend so the enzymes activate evenly. Steam rises, forming a light mist that fills the room with a sweet aroma. Sometimes this steam is lit with special lamps, adding a touch of spectacle, as if you are witnessing a scene from a sci-fi movie. And this is only the beginning. The porridge then passes through other tanks equipped with precise filters that separate the liquid, the malt extract, from the leftover grain. Now imagine this happening on a scale where a single processing cycle can fill thousands of bottles of beer. This is not just production, it is a full-scale performance. The machines operate with the precision of fine jewelry, and as you stand nearby, you feel like a witness to something monumental. The entire process is filled with rhythm, aromas, and sights that will make you forever respect beer. Though, to be honest, I already respect beer because it sponsors my enjoyable Friday nights. Anheuser-Busch sources barley from various farms, and the quality is scrutinized down to the smallest detail. Different beers require different malts. Lager? A light malt base is needed. Stout? Add darker, roasted malt. You get the idea. They use around 1 million tons of grain annually for beer production. Now for the most exciting part. These giant steel fermentation tanks are so enormous that it feels like you could fit an entire football team inside one. This is where the magic begins. Maltwort, a sweet liquid extracted from the grain, is mixed with hops and yeast. Honestly, the smell in the fermentation hall is something else. It is a warm, rich aroma reminiscent of bread and fruits. The yeast here works like crazy, turning sugar into alcohol and carbon dioxide. Fermentation lasts anywhere from several days to a few weeks, depending on the type of beer. The factory employs about 4,000 people. It is like a small town. But what surprised me the most is the level of automation. People here mostly monitor the process from screens while the machines handle the bulk of the work. Even the smallest details, like the temperature and pressure inside the tanks, are controlled by computers. Honestly, the factory feels more like a scientific laboratory than a traditional brewery. And it did not start out this technologically advanced. Anheuser-Busch has an incredibly fascinating history. It all began in the year 1852, when a small brewery opened in St. Louis, simply called Bavarian Brewery. In the 1860s, it was purchased by Eberhard Anheuser, a German immigrant, and his son-in-law, Adolphus Busch, joined the business a few years later. That is when the real boom began. Adolphus Busch was not just an entrepreneur, but an innovator. Imagine this. In the year 1876, they created Budweiser, the first American lager beer. To make it accessible anywhere in the United States, Busch introduced revolutionary transportation methods, such as refrigerated rail cars. This was a game changer for the beer industry. Today, Anheuser-Busch is part of the AB InBev Corporation, the largest beer producer in the world. Their brands, Budweiser, Michelob, Stella Artois, Corona, are recognized on every continent. According to AB InBev, Budweiser alone is sold in over 85 countries, producing over 2,064,000,000 gallons of beer annually. On average, each production line fills 1,500 bottles or cans per minute. The bottling line is a true showcase of technical perfection. Hundreds of cans and bottles flow in rapid streams, perfectly aligned, gleaming under bright lights. The entire process is fully automated, and watching it is like observing a finely tuned clock mechanism, but on an enormous scale. First, empty bottles or cans enter the conveyor. They are thoroughly washed to remove even the tiniest specks of dust, because cleanliness here is paramount. Machines spin each container under spiral nozzles that shower them with jets of water. Next comes the filling stage. Cans line up under high-precision dispensers that pour the exact amount of beer into each one in mere fractions of a second. Interestingly, this happens in near-vacuum conditions. Why? To prevent foam formation and avoid any contact between the beer and oxygen, as this could affect its flavor. The next step is sealing. Caps for bottles or lids for cans are fed onto the conveyor through a separate line, and special automatic clamps secure them with such speed that it is almost impossible to see the movement with the naked eye. Then comes the packaging. This is where the real conveyor magic happens. Bottles, cans, kegs, everything moves at lightning speed. More than 1,500 bottles are filled and sealed every minute. Watch this rhythm. Every can undergoes a seal test before moving on to packaging. Here is another interesting detail. Bottle coloring and label printing are also automated. Conveyors move, machines blink, and staff only occasionally intervene to ensure everything runs smoothly. Overall, lasers, sensors, and cameras at every stage ensure quality control. If even a single can or bottle fails to meet standards, the machine instantly removes it from the line. This guarantees that only the best product reaches consumers. Despite the scale of production, the taste of the beer remains consistent. That is their top priority. Every batch undergoes tasting before hitting the shelves. And trust me, this is not just a formality. The tasters here work at the level of true sommeliers. And this is just one factory in the Anheuser-Busch network. In total, the company operates 12 breweries in the United States, along with over 20 distribution centers. Another thing that impressed me, Anheuser-Busch actively works to reduce its environmental impact. For instance, the water used in brewing is purified and reused, and all waste, such as grain husks, is sent to farms as livestock feed. You can now tell your spouse, "Honey, I am not just drinking beer, I am supporting cattle feed in the United States. If you survive saying that, let me know how it goes." Although their largest factories are in the United States, the company has facilities on every continent except Antarctica. By the way, the factory in St. Louis is also a tourist attraction. Every year, they host tours for tens of thousands of visitors. Guests are taken to historic production halls, shown giant tanks, and even get to see their famous Clydesdale horses. And if you are wondering whether you can taste the beer, of course. At the end of each tour, guests are invited to a tasting room to sample the freshest beer. Anheuser-Busch is not just a company, it is a living history of innovation, scale, and tradition. They started as a small brewery in St. Louis and have grown into a giant that is reshaping the beer industry. Next time you open a bottle of Budweiser or Michelob, remember these numbers, this scale, and the people behind every drop of beer. Did you know that over 2 billion cups of coffee are consumed every single day around the world? But how does your morning drink begin its journey from a tiny coffee cherry? Today, we're uncovering the secrets of instant coffee. From the first blossoms of coffee trees to the cutting-edge factories where beans transform into aromatic powder. Why is Arabica so delicate and Robusta so hardy? And how does production involve technologies that seem straight out of a sci-fi lab? Stick around. You'll be amazed by how many hands and minds it takes to create every jar of coffee. Before beans make it to the factory, they travel a long way. from small coffee plantations to industrial mills, and this journey starts long before the beans are ready to work. First, let's talk about Robusta and Arabica. They're like totally different personalities. They grow in different conditions, offer distinct flavors, and have unique growing demands. Fun fact: instant coffee usually uses Robusta, a bean known for its strength and high caffeine content. Arabica is also used, but less frequently, mainly in premium blends to add a smooth, sweeter flavor. Arabica is the premium bean. It's grown high up in the mountains, typically at elevations of 800 to 2,000 feet above sea level. It's picky. It loves mild climates, consistent rainfall, and temperatures between 60 and 75 degrees Fahrenheit. Robusta is less fussy. It thrives in lowlands, can handle heat, humidity, and even pests. Its ideal growing temperature can reach up to 86 degrees Fahrenheit. It's often cultivated in tough climates where Arabica wouldn't survive. Coffee plantations look like small forests. Coffee trees are grown from seeds, and get this, they take up to 3 years to bear their first fruit. Yep, 3 years before those cherries, which aren't even the coffee beans yet, but their outer shells appear. The trees are planted on specially prepared terraces, especially Arabica on slopes. The soil needs to be loose, rich in minerals, and moisture balanced. On many plantations, work is still done by hand, though some larger farms now use machines for planting. Coffee cherries take about 9 months to ripen after the trees bloom. And here's where the magic begins, timing the harvest just right. Handpicking is the best and most precise method. Workers pick only the ripe cherries, leaving the green ones to mature. It's labor-intensive, but guarantees quality, especially for Arabica. Robusta is often harvested with machines that comb cherries off the trees. It's faster and cheaper, but ripe and unripe cherries end up mixed. Handpicking Arabica ensures better quality, but requires a massive workforce. Entire villages or even seasonal workers from nearby regions often help on large plantations. Harvested cherries aren't beans yet, they're just the shells. To extract the coffee beans, cherries undergo processing. There are two main methods: wet processing and dry processing. Wet processing is mostly used for Arabica. Cherries are soaked in water, where the pulp dissolves and the beans separate. It's pricier, but results in a clean, delicate flavor. Dry processing is more common for Robusta. Cherries are simply spread out to dry under the sun, and then the shells are removed. It's cheaper, but creates a bolder, more intense taste. After processing, the beans are sorted by size, weight, and quality. The best beans go into premium coffee products, while smaller or slightly damaged ones are used for more budget-friendly options or instant coffee. Here's something cool I learned. Robusta beans are usually round and tougher, while Arabica beans are oval and a bit softer to the touch. Once beans are ready, they're packed in classic jute bags. Why jute? It lets the beans breathe during transportation. On plantations, these bags are often loaded onto small trucks or even motorcycles to reach nearby ports or warehouses. Then, the beans are shipped in large containers that can carry hundreds of tons of coffee at a time. Beans often pass through several countries before reaching the factory. For example, coffee might be grown in Vietnam, one of the world's largest Robusta producers, processed in another country, and roasted or turned into instant coffee at a factory in Europe or the US. Before beans are transformed into instant coffee, they're checked for quality multiple times. On plantations, defective cherries are removed before processing. Before shipping, beans undergo another round of checks at warehouses and ports. This includes examining size, color, and aroma. At the factory, samples from each batch are tasted to ensure the flavor meets standards. Everything starts with coffee beans. At the factory I visited, roasted beans are delivered, and their smell, wow, it's that rich aroma you get when you walk into a coffee shop. Fun fact, roasting follows an incredibly precise schedule. Every second impacts the final flavor. So, where does roasting happen? At roasting facilities. Roasting is a whole universe of its own. It significantly affects coffee's taste and aroma, so it's taken seriously. There are several ways this can go down. Sometimes, especially for large Robusta volumes, beans are roasted in their country of origin, like Vietnam or Brazil. These countries have massive export-focused factories, which cut down on logistics costs. Big brands have their own roasting facilities in key regions. For example, in Europe or the US, there are giant factories specializing exclusively in roasting. Roasting beans separately isn't just a preference, it's logical. Green coffee beans are easier to transport long distances because they're less sensitive to storage conditions. Specialized facilities ensure a consistent roast level needed for specific products. Plus, depending on the end use, instant coffee or ground coffee, beans are roasted differently. Roasting coffee is a science. Beans are heated in rotating drums at temperatures around 400 degrees Fahrenheit. The roast time depends on the desired profile, lighter for softer flavors, darker for bold, intense notes. Instant coffee typically uses dark roasts. This enhances aroma and adds a bitterness that holds up even after processing. Roasted beans are cooled and packed to preserve their aroma. The factory receives this semi-finished product and focuses on its processes. It's a bit like a chef starting with a ready-made base to create a masterpiece. The first step after delivery is grinding the beans to a dust-like consistency. No, this isn't your regular grind for a French press or espresso. Industrial mills turn beans into particles finer than sand grains. Why so fine? I asked one of the staff. The answer was simple. The smaller the particles, the more efficiently the flavor and aroma are extracted in the next steps. Here's where the real chemistry begins. The ground powder goes into special extraction chambers, where it's brewed with hot water under pressure. Think of it as a giant coffee maker. This is where all the flavor and aroma you enjoy in your instant coffee are drawn out. What surprised me? The water temperature is controlled to the exact degree to avoid overbrewing. If it's too hot, the taste becomes bitter, too cool, and the coffee loses its richness. The extract from these chambers undergoes multi-stage filtration. All unwanted particles are removed, leaving only a liquid concentrate. This concentrate looks like thick syrup and has such a strong aroma, it'll make your head spin. Next comes the most fascinating part. The liquid concentrate is turned into powder or granules using two main methods: spray drying or freeze drying. Spray drying involves blasting hot air to dry droplets of concentrate, leaving behind dry powder. It's fast and relatively cheap, but sometimes loses some aroma. Freeze drying is more complex. The concentrate is first frozen to extremely low temperatures, then sublimated, turning ice into vapor and leaving dry granules behind. It's pricier, but preserves maximum flavor. At the factory I visited, both methods were used depending on the coffee type. For premium lines, only freeze drying was used. The finished powder or granules are packed into jars, sachets, or sticks. It's all automated. Machines measure exact amounts, seal the packages, and add protective valves to preserve aroma. By the way, these valves are a real technological breakthrough. They let air out of the jar, but don't let it back in. You might wonder, how do they keep the aroma? The secret is that some of the coffee oils and aromatic compounds lost during extraction are collected separately and added back to the final product. It's like a little bonus that makes instant coffee so familiar and fragrant. Is instant coffee real coffee? You know, I was a bit skeptical myself until I saw the whole process. It really is 100% coffee, just with a touch of engineering magic. Actually, scratch that, it's more like technical mastery. The difference between instant coffee and freshly brewed coffee is like the difference between homemade pizza and takeout pizza. They're both great, but in different ways. Instant coffee is quicker, more convenient, and still incredibly flavorful when done right. After the tour, I was blown away by how intricate and well thought out the process is. And you know what amazed me the most? The sheer number of people involved, from engineers monitoring the equipment to tasters checking every batch. Yes, tasters. Turns out it's a real profession. Imagine having a job where you drink coffee and evaluate its taste. Isn't that the dream? Instant coffee isn't just powder in a jar. It's a monumental effort, cutting-edge technology, and a love for a drink that brings us comfort, even on the busiest days. So, next time you make yourself a cup, remember the many hands that work to deliver that aroma to you.